Welcome. Thanks for coming this afternoon. We really appreciate everyone showing up. Quick message. South parking lot, you're good to go, but we're not paying for the east or the west lots. So if you happen to park over there out of habit from service, if you could move your car to the south one so you don't get a ticket. So thank you all for coming. Quick introductions of the Succession team. I am Jen McDaniel. This is Rebecca Johnson, John Gettings, David Musgrave, and Dave Genova. We'd quickly also like to acknowledge any of the staff, elders, and deacons in the room, if you're willing to stand up, maybe even shout out your name. At least wave.
Yeah, we'll just...
Everyone is on the website too, so you can put faces with names, but we didn't want to toss the microphone around popcorn style. So a little bit about kind of the forum and expectations. This is an information session. This is not an input session yet. So hopefully you've received a note card on your way in. If not, kind of raise a hand. We'll make sure one gets over to you. And that's to write a succinct question as it comes to you. We're going to all talk for a little bit and share where we are in the process and as it moves forward this year. But then we'll open up the floor to read those questions. And you can come up yourselves, or if you're feeling nervous, one of us will take it on for you. So just let us know if you didn't get that note card. Excuse me. So basically the goal tonight, is to give you as much information as possible, answer as many questions as possible about how the year will go ahead. And finally, we want you to leave here having a good understanding of the process and your opportunity to participate in it. That's really important to us for transparency, for community building. We're all in this together. And so with that, I'd like to start us with a prayer. God of love, you are with us in every transition and change. As we enter into this new era with excitement and even anxiety, we recall your deep compassion, presence, and abounding love. We thank you for the gifts, talents, and skills with which you have blessed us. We thank you for the experience that have brought us to this moment, and we thank you for the work of others that gives breadth and depth to our own work. Be with us as we move forward, rejoicing with you and supporting one another. We ask this in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. So we're going to take a minute now to refresh our perspective of the timeline, and I think there's a slide for that so that we can just be visually following along. And of course, you're all here because you know that 2 weeks ago, Michael shared the story of the discernment journey that has marked the last couple years of his life and the decision he reached to end his time in his role at Denver Community Church a year from now, in May 2025. What that did is set in motion a succession roadmap or a succession journey for our entire church community. This year ahead is about our community traveling together through these different milestones so that we can be discerning together, we can hear from one another, we can have input, we can express our participation in key decisions that will be made. So right now, we are past that announcement stage. You all know that. We are also past the point of having aligned with and hired a consulting group named Catapult, who understands the values of our church and can bring expertise and even accountability to keep us on track in this process. So those things have happened. We are tonight at a community information meeting. That's the second bubble up there. You can see that. And tonight's goal, as Jen stated, is really to make sure there's a clear understanding of the process. You should also know that we are recording this meeting, so others who cannot be here tonight will have access to this information also. Then the next step that will be an additional opportunity for your participation is the community survey about our succession journey. And I want to say a few words about this because the survey is an opportunity for input. In contrast to tonight being about information, where we just want to make sure there's clarity, the survey is an opportunity for you to express your views, your priorities as they relate to the values of Denver Community Church. And we want to see the collective wisdom of this body, to know the skills, the character, the experiences, the values that really frame our community and would be expressed in a future leadership job profile for the search process. So we want you to be very mindful of participating in that. There are quick checkbox answers for those of you that want to be quick about it, and there are optional long answer text boxes available for those of you that have big thoughts and want to share them. So I want you to know that we've done our very best to include various kinds of input, and we're seeking wisdom from your input, so please share that. Then we have the next stage after the community survey, which informs the search process. It informs the creation of a job profile. And there's going to be another team established that will be responsible for that search process. They're called the hiring team. You've seen them mentioned perhaps in the FAQs that are on the website. That hiring team will be based on nominations from elders, deacons, and staff who have some of the best knowledge of the gifts of this body of people. That might be HR professionals, business owners, a good diverse representation, somehow bundled by God's grace into a small team of people who will steward the opportunity to search, to review all the applications, to conduct initial interviews, and then to present 3 top candidates to the elder team for consideration. From those 3 top candidates, the elders will then offer back their recommendation, and we expect and hope and pray that there will be one finalist who will be brought to this body for a candidating weekend, for introduction and a Sunday gathering and some other ways that you can interact with that person. Now, between there, I just described the search to hiring because it kind of is a function of the hiring team. I want to zigzag back to leadership and ministry team input. This summer, in July, we're finalizing the dates for a ministry team input session. So if you are a member of the ministry team, which is the way we describe membership in the church, that will be a meeting and you will be invited to have interactive input into the process at that time, in addition to what you might have expressed on the survey. The ministry team, the staff, and the elders will also have input. So we want to really shape the job profile and the qualifications in a thoughtful way that aligns with the values and with the culture and the uniqueness of Denver Community Church within the larger body of Christ. We are a unique local body, and we want to honor the place that God has given us and that we are stewarding. Then, after we've gone through leadership and ministry team input, we've gone through hiring, we are praying through that suggested timeline that you see down the right-hand side of the screen. That's not set in stone. That's something we're very prayerful and hopeful will happen, that the hiring would take place sometime in early 2025. That would give us the opportunity for some healthy overlap and handoff, and then ultimately the celebration and the true culmination of this year-long journey together. And what I really want to emphasize as well is that we hope this journey throughout, you will see fingerprints on it of this whole body. It is by this body and for this body that the succession journey is taking place. So this is a first step, and I hope the beginning of an ongoing conversation that we can have together about the important decisions in the year ahead. So I think that covers the whole timeline, and of course, be thinking about those little 3x5 cards you got. If you've had questions come up, feel free to start writing any question you may have.
Nice. We're going to go this way, if you can't tell, just down, and that let us all share a little bit. First, I just want to say thanks for being here. We know this is a big transition for us as a community, and so just really appreciate your investment in this, your desire to know what's happening, make sure you're feeling informed. And so you've kind of heard a little bit about what this process will look like, and we know probably some of the questions coming in are, again, what are those next steps when it comes to a few things. And so I'm just going to talk next steps a little bit, so you have some tangible things that you're leaving with today, and then we'll move into some answering some questions that you're probably bringing in. So a couple of things there. We've got a page on our website that's a succession page that's going to just constantly be updated with new information about what's happening. So if you're ever wondering where we are in this process, what's happening next, if you're ever trying to find the video from today to be reminded about something, whatever that may be, it's good to just go to our website, denverchurch.org. On the main page for this next year, we'll have Succession linked, and you can just go there and we'll consistently update that page. Okay, so if you need to find something, that's the best place to go. And then we're promising to make sure that we're communicating with you about every 4 to 6 weeks. So this team will make sure that we're putting some kind of update together for you. It may come out in our weekly email, so if you're not signed up for that, you can do that on the bottom of our webpage, denverchurch.org, or fill out a card in the seat pocket in front of you. But we want to make sure you're signed up for those, because some of those updates will come through our weekly email. Some will come out as individual updates as we have bigger ones that we want to communicate with you. Sound good? So make sure you're signed up for those, and then we'll promise to make sure you're getting something from us every 4 to 6 weeks. And then just a couple of things. She mentioned Rebecca mentioned the survey coming out. So within 48 hours of right now, anybody that's signed up for our weekly email, which hopefully is most of you, will receive an email from us. It'll be a copy of the audio and video from today, and it'll be a link to that survey. And then that survey is going to be open for roughly 3 weeks. So everybody will have more than enough time, hopefully, to complete that in a thoughtful way. But that will come out within 48 hours of this meeting ending. And then she mentioned ministry team. And again, I know membership can kind of be a funky thing in the context of a church, especially in more post-evangelical spaces. But for any of you that feel like DCC is your home faith community and are not yet a part of ministry team, we would love for you to join that. And what we do is we have you walk through a discovering ministry team. It's about an hour-long session that I lead, and I have 3 coming up in the next little over a month. There'll be 1 in June, 2 in July, all before the time that you'd be able to provide some impact into that job profile, which is probably going to be the 3rd weekend of July. So if you're not a part of ministry team, call DCC home and just really want to take that step. Would love to have you sign up for one of those. And the signups are on that succession page of the website. So that's where to go. Sound good? If you're not there. And if you have any questions about ministry team, catch me afterward. I'd be happy to share a little bit more with you. And then at any point, we just want to be available to you as a team. And so if a question comes up, it's not answered on that web page, or you need some clarity, you can just email succession@denverchurch.org, and one of us will get back with you. So email us anytime. So there's some kind of tangible things. We're going to answer a couple questions and then give you a chance to ask yours. So on to David.
All right. Thank you again for joining us. So we do have some FAQs on our website. So that's really so you can really understand the process. So I'll go through a couple of those. The first one is, how will this process impact current ministry and gatherings? This process will not change the priorities of DCC. Our staff, deacons, and lead volunteers will continue to guide the variety of ministry opportunities that we experience today. Michael will continue to teach and be around on Sundays with the same frequency as he is currently. If you were able to brave the marathon this morning, we enjoyed Michael's preaching this morning. And we'll continue our local and international nonprofit partnerships through Project Renew. And how will we ensure the values and the culture of DCC continues? So we understand that DCC is a unique church with core values that are important to all of us. So our search qualifications will include a list of values affirmed by our ministry team, staff, and elders. The hiring team and elder team will be responsible to ensure that candidates align with and uphold these values to promote growth, equity, and inclusion at DCC. And our org structure is also included on the FAQs. So we have our elder team. So Michael Hidalgo oversees our executive pastor, John Gettings, who oversees the lead team covering our major ministry areas. So that's Hannah Kellerman with worship, Joel Carlman with Project Renew, and Hannah Tom with spiritual formation. And then we have our deacon team. So these are volunteers who serve as point leaders in key operational areas that resource everything we do as a church community. And then we have our ministry team, as John and others have explained. This is really our church membership. So in order to be part of the ministry team, you attend a class and sign a covenant with TCC to serve, give, and grow in your faith. So just to mention some of those upcoming team dates is June the 11th, June the 23rd, and July the 7th. So if you're interested in calling TCC your home, please attend one of those meetings. And then lastly, we have our church community. So this is anyone and everyone who attends TCC or is involved in our church in any way. And then lastly, how will the staff, deacons, and elders be supported and cared for in this process? A leadership succession process requires significant effort alongside existing roles and responsibilities. It's vital that our leadership stays healthy and engaged so that they can serve our church community well. Our care plan includes regular individual connection between elders and staff, succession care team support, staff options for counseling, and regular check-ins by the lead team with those they serve. So if you have any other questions, and if you haven't reviewed the FAQs, please go to the succession planning section on the church website to see a full listing of all of the FAQs. So thank you for your attention. I'll turn it over to Dave.
Thanks, David. So now we're going to have a time of question and response. And so we've been talking about the cards. So if you have questions that are about the process for our church community in the year ahead, please write those out on your note card. We would ask that once you have a question ready about process and what's ahead for church community in the year ahead, if you'd come down to the mic and ask the question. If you don't want to read the question, Michelle Hahn will get your card and she will read the question. And then we will respond in as a succinct fashion as we possibly can to your questions. There may be a question or two that we really haven't had much opportunity to think about. So if that happens, there may be some that we may have to discuss a bit and get back to you, and we'll post those responses on our webpage. So we'll give a few minutes, or if anybody's ready, we'll go ahead and start taking questions.
I have more of a comment. I'm just kidding. Can you imagine? During the search and hiring time, do you know if there's going to be? I don't want to say transparency, but like, will we get to like meet and greet that person, or maybe they would preach on Sunday, or maybe if it's down to a few people, or would that be during like the handoff, or like would it be like they're hired, you've never seen this person? I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, great question. I will state it perhaps better than I did in the summary, so I'm glad you asked. Absolutely, it is the desire that the church community would meet the candidate before the hiring is final. They are coming with full recommendation of the hiring team, the recommendation of the elder team, so there's certainly a hopeful and prayerful yes, but it's not a done deal. So we want to have a candidating weekend that includes a Sunday gathering and some other opportunities for interaction.
And do we want to mention, too, that it's after that candidate weekend, then the ministry team would have the opportunity then to affirm or not affirm that candidate?
So can I just follow up? So does that mean that we'll only meet one? Like it'll be a candidate weekend after you've narrowed it down to one?
I think we're leaving that a little bit open, in that the hope is we will be down to one candidate by that point, that kind of hiring team, elders, whoever else is in that process would. Correct. But it may come down to a couple that we need to bring both in for a candidating weekend. So we're leaving that a little bit open. The goal is one, but it may be multiple.
Yeah, you mentioned that you'll have qualifications. You'll ask for what values they have. It doesn't match our values. What is that list of qualifications?
That list will be developed in a profile, and that we are using the survey and ministry team input to help validate how those values are articulated. Obviously, though, we have already shared publicly as a church some of the values we hold. So we hope that the survey, aligns with some of the ways that we've already been practicing, for example, unity over uniformity, and the inclusion of the variety and diversity of people that are here in this room tonight. So we're not expecting a shift in values, but we are looking for that input to affirm.
And I'll just name it. So there'll be a few stages of that in the next probably almost 2 months. So the survey is step one, and then the consultant that we hired is going to lead a session with our elders, a session with our staff. I'll lead one with our deacons, and then we'll have a session with our ministry team in July. All of those sessions are information gathering and input gathering to be able to inform that profile. And then the profile will be completed by the end of July, roughly, so that we can start to go live and begin to promote this in early August. So there's a few weeks here of getting some of that input.
Those meetings are all with the consultant?
Yeah, most are. Yeah, I think all but maybe with our deacon team. We'll see how we can involve them in a couple of those other things. But all the other ones the consultant will help manage. Yep.
We also met with Inc. already to let them have a role in this too, and they're all aware that they get to take the survey as well. So we do want our youth to be part of this process.
They went first, so let's see what you got, because they did a great job. So, great. Do you want to come down just so we can see you and hear you well? That'd be great. Thank you. You may be able to project, but we're still going to make you do it.
Yeah, because we are recording for those that can't be here today, so we want to be sure we can capture it.
Good? Okay. So far, what I've heard suggests that this is merely external. If that's so, why is that? If it's also internal, have there been processes and leadership development going on in the congregation so that someone that's already here might step into Michael's role? Thank you.
Great question. I think, so you're talking about, how we're going to find candidates for this role, right, ultimately? So I think we will absolutely, when we get to the stage where the job profile is put together, and we start doing kind of our advertising of that, we'll make sure that that's happening internally and externally. There's no reason to exclude anybody that's currently a part of our community. And we also know we want to make sure we're leveraging our network nationally to do our best to find the best candidate to come in. Yeah.
Hi. I'm a consultant, and nobody knows what consultants do. So can you tell us a little bit more about Catapult, what they're about, and kind of how they're going to interact with us in the process?
I love the start of that. I'm a consultant, nobody knows what we do. All right. So Catapult, I think when we kind of were moving toward this process, it's been a long time since we've done a senior leader transition as a community. And we all have been maybe a part of those in different ways. When we talk to our elders, right, we have a lot of experience in the room. A lot of it is not good about how this process has gone. And so ultimately, I think we were just looking for a group to come in and help guide the whole succession process, right? For us, this is not just hiring a person. This is actually moving a community from one kind of iteration of leadership to another. And that's a big deal for us, right? It happens at every level of our staff and organization, but especially when we get into, a lead pastor role, somebody that's helping to set our culture, our values, who we are. Some of that is really important for us to make sure that we're doing this well. And so we were looking for somebody that could help manage an entire process, not just help us hire, if that makes sense. So it's the consultant that's helped us put together the roadmap, this whole process every step of the way. They'll be journeying with us. I have a weekly meeting with one of our consultants that's just kind of getting updates, helping make sure we're taking appropriate next steps, make sure we're communicating well with all of you. It'll be that team that will help inform kind of the expectations of the hiring team. They're doing some kind of coaching and mentoring with Michael in this time too, just to make sure he's well cared for in this next year. So there's a number of elements to that, but a lot of it is just helping to articulate and then guide us through this full process. Yeah.
And also, I wanted to add, we were really intentional in who we selected to work with us. So it was important that, they understand our values as a church, and so they honor those values as they work with us. Because as you can imagine, hiring a church consultant, you can get anything. So it was really intentional that we wanted somebody who aligned with our values as a church as well.
First of all, thank you for your willingness to do this process, because not very many churches do. And so I'm really grateful for that. And also for Michael being here and being a part of it too. So my question is the overall leadership structure going to stay the same, or is it in question? And might we also consider a different type of model, such as co-leadership, where I hear you talking about single leadership. So I'm just curious if like a 2-person lead team might be also part of the conversation.
If you want to, it's up to you. Yeah, that's great. We're entering into this, I think, open with that. I think, we know that there's some certain elements that we want to see kind of in the next iteration of leadership, and we want strong leadership. We want really excellent teaching. We want to make sure that we have what we need in kind of this next season. There's a chance we find that all in one person, or maybe there's something that as we're moving through this, we say, actually, the best thing to serve DCC, from what we've heard from all of you and your investment and input over the course of the summer, is going to maybe need to shift that a little bit. So I think we're remaining open in that. We're not wanting to, be specific of going, this is exactly, we're just looking for one person. It's got to be perfectly these skill sets. So I think we're really wanting the job profile to come together, see the best thing that fits with our current staff and kind of who, are all of our gifting and wiring and experience, and then enter into this process a little bit open-handed. Yeah.
I will go ahead and take the opportunity to respond to questions that were submitted online. You may recall there was a form that said, hey, send questions if you have them. We received several, and some people are leaning into the input as well as the information. So I only have one question that actually pertains to the succession process information, and we are holding aside some of the other comments received that are more input related. So I just want you to know that in transparency. The question that was related to the information meeting said, how, if at all, will creating this succession process for Michael influence how this process happens for others in the future? And it's important to correct here a bit something that's stated in the question. I think you've heard it from us already tonight, that the succession process isn't for Michael. It's for the community as a whole. Michael is part of the community, Michael's family is part of the community, but the succession process is really for the whole and for everyone who is here. And you've heard about continuity of values, the sustaining of the ministry, and broadly, I think Sarah just referenced, churches don't always do this. So this model that we're embracing is really important for the life and well-being of the community as a whole. And with that, I'll say there's room for more questions if you have them. I just wanted to take that one.
You guys have done a great job of kind of explaining the process and your role in it and the community's role in it, but I'm a little bit curious, how involved will Michael be in this process and interviewing and all of that?
That is a great question also, and one that has come up already. And Michael is not central to this process. He is available to share values and participate in the handoff and kind of make sure that things that he knows and has stewarded are well articulated so that the group that's responsible for the job profile, the larger group, including ministry team speaking into it, elders and hiring team, have all the best knowledge to bring into that. But he is not deciding on the candidates, he is not deciding on the hiring.
Hello. You might have said this already, but can you just clarify again, who all that survey is going to? And then I also just had a question, I know we're talking a lot about values, so is that going to be a document or something that you're going to be writing up to make that pretty crystal clear for our community?
The survey is going to everyone who's on the email list. So, that's the best way we know to understand who has raised their hand and said, I'm connected here, I'm involved here. So if you're on the email list or on a Sunday morning, I think, the succession page, there's a QR code, so someone who's not on the email list could have access to it that way. So it's a wide net, and we want to make sure that there's opportunity for input. And go ahead.
It's not just one person per household, it's the whole household. You all take it individually. So the more the merrier.
Thank you for that, Jen. And Jen's a big advocate for Inc. student ministry as well, and those that want to take the survey. This is about the future of the church community, so everyone vested in that future can have a voice in it. And forgive me, you had a second question.
Yeah, it was just about the values and if that's going to be pretty clearly laid out, I guess.
Yeah. Go ahead. You're saying it already, Jen.
Yes, so that will turn in ultimately into the job posting, if you will, and the profile. And I think we're all still, someone else might comment, the timing of how that document is finalized right around when ministry team meets in July.
Yeah, that'll be kind of the final input, that will go in. And then ideally the profile will be live by August 1-ish is what we're expecting right now. And that'll be something that'll probably be either on that succession page of the website, or we'll create a kind of a job profile site page as well that everybody can go to that's interested and apply through there. So that will be something that everybody could see and take a look at for sure. It'll be a public document. Yeah.
I think this will be more obvious too when you see the survey. Particularly when we had to build multiple choice, it's about pulling our core values into a way that you can then prioritize it for you personally. So you'll quickly see how it's building from our character as a church into the things that are important to you. And I think that survey will make them more obvious.
Two follow-up questions. The first one, to follow up on what Shemin was asking earlier. Catapult is specific to churches. It's not just a regular headhunter organization.
They work with nonprofits and churches primarily. Yeah, they're a little diverse, but they've definitely worked with churches before.
And they're not really a headhunter firm. It's more of the process. So they won't be doing pieces of the search for us. They're just helping us, guiding the process.
Got it. And then the online question. So I work in a very volatile industry, and I've never fared well when there's a new editor that comes in. And so I can imagine that maybe the staff might be a little anxious, and I don't know if this is what the online question was getting at, but if we hire a new head pastor that oversees John Gettings, and then the staff, how much is that going to be possibly, and are we already thinking about it, disruptive that somebody new comes in and then wants to bring in their own staff?
I don't like that idea at all. Yeah, I think just know one of our values is how good our team is and how we work together. And we've spent a lot of time and energy, including in the last year and a half, kind of continuing to work together to make sure that our staff's voices are heard. We have some phenomenal people on our staff team, and our goal coming into this is absolutely not to change that team, right? We're looking for somebody to step in to help us move to the next level. The goal is to not make changes to the existing as we go.
May I add to that? Just in fostering that effort, already they had staff retreat, and Catapult very intentionally participated with that some time there, and is coming into town to do that again with the staff. And then each of us are also adopting certain staff over the next year. So each succession care team person is pairing with certain staff so that they know they're going to feel connected and heard over the year.
Hi, my name is Susan Woodruff. I'm a member of the women's leadership team here, and as such, we get a lot of questions fielded through us with a lot of the changes that have happened over the past couple of years. And a consistent one that has now been a part of conversation is there room for Becca Stewart or Amanda Lum to return to staff in a role? And I figured this would be the group that would be better equipped versus our team to answer that.
I can respond to that, thank you. And I know we've had a question already about internal candidates, and they're not, they're in a different relationship to the community at this point, specifically Becca and Amanda. But the desire is for us to develop a healthy, whole profile and to put it forward for anyone to consider, and for a thoughtful and prayerful discernment process to go forward from there. There is no one that we have identified that is excluded from that process.
I just want to clarify, I think you were starting to talk about this earlier, but just to be clear, this consulting firm, is this the same one that came in to work with the elder and staff team after there was several women in leadership that left and did some work with the team, or this is a new, different consulting firm? And if it's new, has the elder team or staff or anyone worked with this consulting firm before this process?
Yeah, it is. I'll take that first part of that. It's a different team, so a new team. And then regarding our experience with them, I don't know, John, do you have?
We've not contracted with Catapult before. One of the consultants on the team, a couple of us know from an iteration doing some discipleship and mission work in 2010-11, but we've not worked with this team specifically before.
So with the hiring, is there a contract that they sign or anything so that we don't have turnover after going through all of this process?
It's a great question. I mean, I think ultimately as a state, we're an at-will state, so it's hard for us to sign any kind of specific contract that you have to stick to, but we're coming at it, I think, approaching it the same way you are. I think stability is so important, right? Part of the gift of Michael being here for 17 years has been some of the cohesion we've been able to have as a community, the connectedness that brings. I mean, again, so much stability. So I think we're desiring the same thing, and we'll be for sure looking at that in a candidate that's willing to make a longer-term commitment.
Hello. What are the gifts and talents of you guys to be the succession team? As far as what are you bringing to it?
Shall we go down the row and tell about our involvement in the church and life in general?
Yeah, I think if we all share, you'll see why we're a unique blend, which was the goal, to kind of cover types of peoples in the church body. So I have been a part of DCC for over 15 years. We think, maybe with the exception of Heidi and Susan, we think I'm like the longest running kids volunteer without stopping. Like I've never taken a break. And I'm also an architect, so I've been heavily involved with various building committees. So when it was doing repairs and things on Wash Park, when we moved here, when we've been looking at Zunai designs, other iterations of buildings we looked at, so I'm heavily involved on the building side of things. I have a biological son and an adopted daughter, so for a while we were help hosting a foster parenting group. So I've had a lot of different aspects of my life very involved with DCC.
I am relatively a newcomer compared to Jen. I started attending in 2018 or 19. My husband and I sort of can't pin down the date. But I have become involved since COVID in hospitality and Eucharist, so I've seen many of your faces that way. And I've also worked outside of my church involvement. I work extensively with churches and nonprofit organizations, somewhere upwards of 75 or so. A lot in the area of communications and fundraising and in leadership development, and also as an advocate for women in leadership. So those are some things that are really important to my work every day, and I'm grateful to be able to bring them to this team. I also mentioned my husband. He's been very active. He plays keyboards about once a month as a worship volunteer, so I kind of have a lens into that group of volunteers as well.
I'm the staff representative on this team, and my humor mostly is what I bring. In addition to that, I would just name, I've been at DCC a long time. I've been here 19 years, and I helped make the transition from our founding pastor into Michael coming on. I was a part of another succession process at my American Baptist Church before that, so I've done this a couple of times, and then I just care deeply, deeply for this community and want to see this done really well, and so I will help lead the effort to make sure it's done well.
Thank you for the question. I think it's really important that you all really know who we are. So I have been involved with DCC since about 2018, and I co-lead a LGBTQ small group that's no longer really a small group. We have over 130 people on our email list. We're transitioning into DCC's LGBTQ ministries, so more to come on that. It's just amazing to see how the Lord is working through this church and how many people show up in our group who find a safe space where we can show up for who we are and still hold our faith. So that's something that's super important to us. So we really, really value DCC and being able to have a place where we belong and have our faith. In the real world, I am the equity manager of supplier diversity for the state of Colorado, and so I am hiring. My team and I are actually standing up the supplier diversity program for the state of Colorado to make sure that small and diverse businesses have opportunity for state contracts. So that's really a passion of mine, just to make sure that everyone has a voice and that everyone is really included in the room. So that's a passion of mine.
Thanks, David. So I'm an elder representative on this succession care team, and been with DCC's been home for us for about 16 years. This is my I think the beginning of my third year, or halfway through my third year on the elder team. This cycle, I was on the elder team previously, 7 or 8 years. And I think a couple things of note over those times that were hugely formative for this community, including our decision to be an inclusive community. I've done a lot with around the different buildings, searches and work and contracts and things of that nature. Professionally, I'm currently a transit consultant. Thank you for the consultant comment earlier, but formerly I was 26 years with Regional Transportation District, and I was 5 years as CEO there. So I've been through a lot of leadership transitions at that organization, at least 4. One of them being my own, going into that role in a senior leadership level, and then demobilizing out of that role. And in all of those transition cases, hopefully in a very healthy way, helping to transition a big organization through those kinds of changes.
We talked a little about this at the retreat, but could you explain how you're going to decide who the hiring team is and how many people will be a part of that?
We don't know how many people, but we know that it doesn't need to be a large team. So you can see how many of us are up here. I think we recognize there's a wisdom in multiple voices and yet also a functional nimbleness for a process like this. So that's the best answer I can give you on number. The hiring team will be based on nominations from elders, deacons, and staff who really know the gifting and the working experiences of the most people in our congregation. That's our sense. And we're looking for gifting related to HR, hiring, business management. We are also looking for diverse representation, as you are sensing here from the ministry perspectives. So somehow be praying for that. We want to find those voices.
And so to follow up, if somebody wasn't necessarily nominated, could they submit themselves to be on the team or talk to somebody on any of those?
The elders, deacons, and staff are listed on the website under leadership, so you know who they are.
Okay, well, just in case, so we're not seeing anybody else, but if you still have questions, you can still post those on the website, and we will make sure that we're responsive to those. So David's gonna summarize and close this up for today.
All right. So you've heard that within the next 48 hours. I almost sped that up. No pressure. Within the next 48 hours, you'll receive an email that will have a survey. So your participation in the survey, once again, helps identify candidates who align with the values and opportunities we seek to embody in our next chapter of ministry. So please complete that. Also, multiple people in your household can take the survey. One per individual. And also we encourage participants in our Inc. ministries to also participate in that as well. If you don't currently receive our weekly email, there is a note card in the CPAC in front of you. Just fill out that card and give it to one of us before you leave this afternoon. And then sign up for Discovery Ministries team if you want to call DCC your home. The next ones are on June the 11th, June the 23rd, and July the 7th. And so there is a link on the succession page of the church website. You can go to RSVP. So we will stick around if you have any questions that you had that you didn't have a chance to ask. So on behalf of the Succession Care team, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule for your investment in our community as we plan for the year ahead. So let's go ahead and close in a word of prayer. God, behind us, God beside us, God before us. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time together this afternoon with our church family. We thank you for the presence that you have had in our past, right now, and in the future. We ask for your discernment and direction for the year ahead, and we invite your divine hand to be all over it and in all of it. As a church community with staff, deacons, elders, ministry team, and congregation, help us trust you that the ministry here today will continue and flourish for generations that follow. Thank you for the great and mighty things that you have in store for us. Bring everyone home safely this afternoon, and may we find opportunities to be a healing presence to people in our lives this week as you bring us together again next Sunday. Almighty God, we praise you, we thank you, we serve you, we love you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thanks for being here. We'll be down front again if you have questions. And then Michael called me over a second ago because we have 2 free tickets to Need to Breathe tonight at Red Rocks that we're trying to give away, apparently. So first come, first serve. I don't. I know, yeah. I'm looking for free tickets to the Nuggets. If you have those, that would be great.